In my spirit, answer from God was, Tasha, you don't believe you deserve any more than this. It wasn't only an answer for me in my relationship choices, it also explained why some women want money so much but don't believe they deserve it, and they struggle to achieve the levels of financial success that they desire.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hart Inspired, the show dedicated to highlighting individuals in their pursuit of authentic leadership. We peel back the layers to uncover the roadblocks we all face, explore the actions we can take, and how to persevere towards the best version of ourselves. It is my hope that you'll be inspired by their story and gain some insights to help you in your own journey. Sometimes we think we have all that we deserve. Is it enough to believe that our lives will change or improve if we do nothing? My guest today, Tasha Chen, a thought leader and founder of the Science of Getting Rich Academy and the international bestselling author of Deservingness, The Art of Getting More of What You Want, is an expert in helping entrepreneurs around the globe to go from on the brink of giving up to manifesting their dreams, helping them see their own superpower. Please welcome my guest today, Tasha Chen. Welcome, Tasha.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you.
When we first met, we had a lot of coincidences of our backgrounds and, sisters from other aunts or mothers, if you will.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting. And you shared a very humbling story about how you went from where you were, pretty successful, to a little bump in the road or big bump, whatever you want to call it, and we'll get into that, to then this huge success mountain that you have built. So tell us how this sparked you to be who you are today. What was it like when you were little? Did you have a story that you told yourself about being successful or that you deserved what you deserve?
I actually had the story told to me. This wasn't, story of origin that I just came into this life experience and decided this is the story I'm going to tell myself and live by. Like we shared, I'm from the beautiful island of Jamaica. Part of the reality of a third world upbringing is that there are limited opportunities for everyone. And so in order to be successful, you have to be willing to work harder than everyone else. And I suppose that's universal, right?
Yeah.
We've been told the harder you work, the more success you'll have. And that can be true when everyone's saying, just work hard. There's so many opportunities, but work hard. There's not a lot of opportunities. This is a totally different framework. And so the story that was told to me was that I really needed to work hard for success. I remember I was 10 years old and I was getting ready to take an exam that would qualify me for high school. So here in the States, it's just you just keep going, right? No,
Right.
in Jamaica, you have to pass an exam. And if at 10 years old, if you don't pass that exam, you go to trade school. Like the rest of the trajectory of your life is determined at 10 years old. So to inspire me, quotes,
Yes.
like the quotes
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
fingers up. My mom, to inspire me, said, listen, if you don't pass these exams and make it into high school, no big deal. We've got some land in the country,
Oh,
and I'll just buy you a machete and a hoe, and you'll be set for life. And I was like, oh my gosh, let me study harder than everyone else because that is not the future that I saw for myself. And that was her version of inspiration. And so, yeah, I really I was raised with that, working very hard to create success for myself. And that was the formula that was going to be guaranteed for the rest of my life until it wasn't. So, yeah, that's it. I really, I bought that story hook, line, and sinker.
yeah. I bet you there's a lot of listeners who have had a similar story of, here's your options.
Yeah.
And it's really option one and option one.
Yes, exactly.
Option two is just to put the fear in you a little bit.
Yeah, it's just to make option one very clear. Yeah.
So
Oh.
obviously, you didn't have to learn how to use a machete and work the fields. And so high school it was. And then what was after that? Did you still have that same story in your head?
Yeah, so I've always had, I really have always, I had a single mom who there's just a whole different dynamic when you're raising a young girl, and she got pregnant at 18 years old, so she didn't get to finish school. And so that was her main drive for me, was getting an education, having my own independence, giving me every opportunity she never had. So you can just imagine, like I said, the stories that I got, versus the ones
Yeah.
that I created for myself. And so I just kind of knew education was my path. I was going to finish high school and I was going to college. There was no two ways about it. And I wanted to be an attorney, and just being fully focused on that, I applied for law school. And it's not like here where there are lots of law schools. There's
Mm.
one for the entire Caribbean. So not
Oh.
just Jamaica, but all the islands.
Oh, wow.
I did not get into law school. And so I panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to college. What do I do now? And so I went to the community college version of university in Jamaica. And I went
Okay.
and I did business. And it's kind of like, God just knows better, because literally I was just talking to my husband. We both said we had wished we could have been attorneys, but I am very happy that did not turn out to be my path. And so I did the community college thing, and as I finished that, and I got a humble little job as a like office manager at a little dental supply company in Jamaica. One of my aunts came to visit from the States, and she saw me doing this little job, and she's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You need more college. You need a bachelor's degree. You need to go get your master's and all this." And she says, "Why don't you go to schools in the States?" And I said, "Well, the exchange rate is 100 to 1. There is no way we can afford that." She says, "They have scholarships." I was like, "Wait a minute. They'll give you money to come to school?" I mean, talk about just a big world, of possibilities when you don't even know these things exist. And so I got a scholarship. I got a couple of
Awesome.
scholarships. I chose the best one, I think the one that was the fullest, and came here, got my bachelor's degree, got my master's degree. And sure enough, while I was doing my master's degree, I met a boy, and the rest is history somewhat. Met a boy. He was a Jamaican that had been living here for a while. We got married, and I got a job. And then we decided, well, probably more so. I think I influenced him more so than anything. I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like 2 weeks vacation a week. That was not the story I was telling myself.
Your story has evolved.
Yeah. It's like, I definitely got off the plane. I'm like coming to America. I definitely got off the plane that day, and I was like, there are 2 point something million people left in my country who would love this opportunity. I am going to milk it. And I had all of that hard work thing already wired in. So I was going to do all I could to achieve success. And so I did. I graduated the colleges and the undergrad and masters. I got the job, corporate, great job, got married, and finally talked my husband into, let's buy a franchise business. And we did buy a franchise business. And the criteria was work really hard and follow the system. Two things I'm very good at, right?
Okay.
So I do that. And Michelle, when I tell you, money came into our lives like a cloud parted in heaven and just showered us with money. Like I cannot remember ever experiencing that much cash flow in our lives in such a short period of time. And so it was exhilarating. You're on this high and you're, oh my gosh, I'm the talk of the town, my little tiny town, and I'm a
Yeah.
business owner and everything's going well and we're buying real estate and life's good. And then bam, bankruptcy, chapter 11, bankruptcy,
Wow.
divorce. And my health was just, I was in and out of the hospital like it was a revolving hotel door. My
Wow.
kids, I had a baby in the middle of all that, and plus I had my daughter, and it was just like they didn't know who I was and I didn't know who they were.
Mm.
And it was the epitome. I call it a trifecta of failure because it just all happened all at once for me. And I realized in that moment that the formula for success, that story that I had been told, that I had bought and agreed to, was not necessarily always true. You
Mm.
don't always work hard and you always succeed, right?
Yeah.
So that was it for me. That was turning point for me.
When you were at that low, what were some of the signs or feelings you had to make different decisions at that point? Because you're in the thick of things like, how do I get out of this?
So I can tell you that when we had our business, my ex-husband still had his job, and the franchise business became my responsibility, right? So
Okay.
he would often say, "You better make this work. Like our life depends on this, and our future plans depend on this." And
Oh.
it was very heavy.
Mm.
And I would want to have conversations about ideas I had because I'm the one in the business every day, and he would be very corporate America. Well, let's put this pay structure, let's give these benefits, let's do all this like corporate America stuff. I'm like, that does not translate when it's our money, our savings that's going towards paying those things that a massive corporation can do that we can't do,
Right.
right? We are in these real estate deals that are so costly at the time. We're talking 2004, 5, 6, when real estate was through the roof. And so a lot of things were happening financially that was causing a lot of pressure. And
Mm.
people will say, like your question is, did the failure in our business cause a failure in our marriage? And I would say the failures in our business caused the problems in our marriage to come to light, right?
Okay.
And to have this perfect storm where everything that doesn't make a marriage work shows up. And
Mm.
so it was really hard because what happens for me at the time, not as evolved as I would like to think I am today. So I started to shut down from that feeling of feeling inadequate, feeling like I wasn't as smart as he was in business. My ideas weren't, valued. So all of that was going on, and I started to shut down and just not talk about the business, watch us literally sinking, and just like, well, I guess this is our course. And then emotionally, I'm also feeling I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled. This is not the relationship for me, but I don't have a choice. Like
Mm.
financially, I need to stay here. I don't have a choice. And also, I'm thinking my husband is not seeming like he seems like he's okay, So like there is no way out of this. And I'll never forget the morning he asked me for a divorce. I was in complete shock, complete like it was
Yeah.
like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, sure. He's like, I want a divorce. Like,
Wow.
so I remember going to the shower right after, shaking, like when you've had a baby and you got the epidural and
Yeah.
you're like shaking. And I was shaking uncontrollably in the shower from fear, like how am I, all the worst case, how am I going to provide for myself and the kids and keep the house? And I don't have a job. I don't have any money, right? Because at the point that we got, so the business failed first, bankruptcy, and then the divorce. That's the order in which it occurred. And so I remember that morning in the shower, and this quiet voice as I'm shaking saying to me, Tasha, you've been praying for peace. Here
Mm.
it is.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
So obviously things worked out. Because here we are. We're talking
Here we
about some
are.
some fabulous things that you're doing. Before all that, I remember when we first met, you told us about a really powerful story about a book that someone recommended to
Yes.
you.
Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Yes.
Well, okay. And so tell us about when that was introduced to you and what happened.
So listen, this is post-divorce, post-bankruptcy, serious depression, dark days. If anyone can relate to this, you put on a happy face for the kids, you drop them to school, you drive home, you sit in the kitchen on the floor and you cry all day because you
Yeah.
literally do not know how to get yourself out of this situation, right? Then you slap the smile back on, you go pick the kids up from school, you bring them home, and you live this whole lie till they go to bed, right?
Okay, listeners, ladies.
And I'm telling you what, it's so heavy, this lie that you live.
Yeah.
And I was in that place, and a friend called me and said, "Hey, I want to take you to meet some friends of mine. They're very wealthy, they're very good people." I'm like, I'm depressed and broke. I don't want to meet rich, happy people. Why would you ever think to invite me to that?
What is it? What's the saying? Misery loves company.
Yeah, like misery, like leave me alone over here.
I'm happy on my cold kitchen floor.
Yeah, I am crying here, right? I do not want happy right now. And you know what? Thank you, God. Curiosity, us women, curiosity to just, these people live in a very exclusive part of town where I feel like you have to give DNA to get in. And she was basically like, you'll get to go in. Right. And I was like, okay, I can slap that smile on and go. And so I went with my friend, and I remember walking into this family's home that was just the epitome. Let me put it in context for you. The Walgreens, the Chase family, the McCormick family,
Oh,
their winter, like once a week, a year residence is in this exclusive community.
you hit the
So,
jackpot.
yeah. So I remember walking in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this, I've never been in the presence of this much wealth.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to drive by the homes, like
Yeah.
I'm inside and I am literally Michelle gawking, like, oh, right. And I remember the husband, bless him, came over to me and said, Tasha, word for word, everything that you see here is because of this book. You should read it. And the book was The Science of Getting Rich. Now, Michelle, when I tell you in Jamaica, we would say, my face is on the floor. My life is so bad, right?
Oh my gosh.
Life is crappy for me. I am desperate and dire and broken every way. Do you think I read the book, Michelle? No, I did not read the book. I took it home, put it in a drawer, went on my merry way back to my depressive day, right?
Kitchen to the car to the
Oh
school and
my
back, right?
God. And finally, somehow it got even worse. And one day I just heard, the Spirit of God just say, the book, Tasha, for God's sakes, the book. Right? And I read the book and it changed my life. It changed my life. And I read it, it's 63 pages. There's no reason you could read it in an afternoon. And so I read the book, and what it was for me was I was raised very religious, and a lot of religious concepts that I had grown up like believing into my core were presented in this book and wrapped in a way that helped me to understand that wealth was my divine right. It was actually, that's what God wanted for me and for all of us. And I just hung on to it for dear life. And I decided I'm not only going to read the book like so many of us do. Oh, how many great books have you read? I'm going to implement what this book is saying. And my life became unrecognizable in such a short period of time that it was like this natural thing within me, spur me to say, who else wants me to teach them what I've learned and what I'm doing? And that's how our business was born.
So you mentioned your husband, so you remarried.
Yes.
The business was successful before the marriage, the new
Yes,
marriage?
yes, yes. I'm a newlywed. Like I just got
Oh,
married. Yep, I just got
well,
married 6 months ago.
congratulations. Oh,
Thank you.
congratulations. That's pretty awesome. Did you give him the book as a wedding gift?
You're so cute. So my husband, and one of the reasons why he is my husband is before we met, and I need to just put this in there for a second. My ex-husband, so we're now divorced, but we're doing the co-parenting thing. I decide I'm going to create a program to teach people the science of getting rich, right? So you can see like that's the book that I teach from. It's branded
Yep.
with my name, all that. So I had just gotten a shipment, and he walks in a house and sees the boxes filled with these books called The Science of Getting Rich and my picture on it. Calls my mom and says, your daughter has lost her mind and you need to talk to her and straighten her out. She has lost her mind,
Wow.
right?
What judgment.
Yeah. So my mother took care of him.
Oh, good. As any
And
good mom would.
yeah. Well, what it did though was that it really, I became so protective of sharing with men that I would date in the future what I did for a living. I didn't want their judgments. I didn't want their opinions. I didn't want to have to explain it. I mean, the science of getting rich, that's what you do for a living. Like,
Yeah.
really, So I guarded it. And then when I met my husband, in my dating profile, one of the things that I said to describe myself is I love, love, love my work. Right. And so he was like, okay, what is this work? I've never heard somebody love, love, love their work. And I had that moment where I was like, don't tell him yet because you're not too far along in the
Yeah, yeah.
relationship. And I was like, I really like this guy. I'm going to tell him. And let me tell you, I told him, I went all woo woo. I told him all the universal principles, all the things, all the results I'd had in my client. And when I was done, he said, can I ask you for a favor? And I was like, okay,
Here
thinking,
it comes,
please
right?
don't call me ever again. And he said, will you teach me? And that moment, I was like, I have to marry this man. I really do. It's like the things that you make a decision around, right?
Yes.
By then, he had bought the book. on Amazon. He had already bought the book, or shortly thereafter, he bought the book. But I was just like, that's what I want is a partner who's open-minded enough to like go at least be able to be open-minded about my journey and be respectful of it, you know?
Yeah. So, how did you get branded and the book and your academy and all of that?
So, you know, Michelle, everything's a story with me.
Yes.
I was leading this group of women. I've always been, I guess, inspired by bringing women together and us having conversations around business. And I found an organization that did that all over the country, but they had local chapters. And so I raised my hand to lead the chapter here in my town. At this time, I have a little tiny little business that I did after the franchise. It was called Mother and Daughter Trips, right? So I just wanted to I didn't want to do Chamber of Commerce and that kind of thing anymore. I wanted true masterminds. And so I raised my hand to lead the chapter. And I was doing it for like a year and a half. And I saw that the women, like their needles were not moving in their businesses, even though we were meeting every month and having really rich conversations. And so on a whim, I said, how many of you would like for me to take you through this process of studying the science of getting rich and showing you how to implement it so you can create results? I said, I'm going to take 15 of you, whoever raise your hands first. And they did. And my friend said, if you don't charge them, I'll never speak to you again. I had no intentions of charging. I had serious money stuff still going on. And I was like, well, you charge them. And
Yeah.
she did. I mean, like maybe $120 or something. And so we had our first group. And before it was done, we had our second group. Then we had a group of men. And then here we are 10 years later, people from all over the world, $55 million and counting has been created, all from this little tiny idea. We would meet at a coffee shop once a week. You know, now we serve women and men all over the world. I mean, it's just been incredible. And I will say, when people say, oh, you know, because Lord knows I'm a Virgo, right? So it's got to
Mm.
have all the I's dot and the T's crossed for me to say, put my name on it and say, this is my product. Well, we started this business. I had no product, no website, not even a bank account. And we still
Wow.
created our first group. In fact, I took somebody else's product. Somebody had recorded the science of getting rich and they had, because it's not copyrighted, so they copyright protection. So they had put their own branding on it. I bought it from them and use it to teach my way. And then people were like, it would be nice to see your picture when we're looking at the book. And so everything just has happened organically for me. It was just, what's the next logical thing? All right, well, people want a website. Okay, well, let's go get a website, you know? And that's how our business has grown.
That's really incredible. What a great story. So much success. And you have also authored a book.
Yes,
Yeah.
deservingness. So, you know, as I am here teaching all these women how to use these universal principles to create wealth in their life, I noticed something happening where some women would just run with it and money was just like everywhere. Others were like slowly getting there. And I was like, they have the same information. What's going on here? I'm an academic by nature. And so I'm trying to figure this out in my logical mind. And simultaneously, I'm in a really bad relationship. Bad, right? So bad, Michelle, that I have to run for my life at one point, flee the country, run for my life. When
Wow.
I get to Costa Rica, which is where I went to, I find out like all kinds of, I'm being threatened. The guy has had my phone tapped for 3 years. It's bad. And I'm in the full awareness of this all at the same time, right? And I remember going out and just saying, God, you have to explain to me how this is my life. How is this my life? I'm not this person. I'm good. I'm a Christian girl. I'm all the good things. How am I having this experience?
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever your belief system is, I'll say there was no parting bush, no burning bush, no clouds parted, none of that. But in my spirit,
Mm-hmm.
answer from God was, Tasha, you don't believe you deserve any more than this.
Oh, powerful.
That's why you have this. And it wasn't only an answer for me in my relationship choices, it also explained why some women want money so much, but don't believe they deserve it. And they struggle to achieve the levels of financial success that they desire. And so
Yeah.
it was like the answer for me and them, just different context,
Yeah.
but like It really made just all the sense in the world. And my commitment to God that night was I am committed to becoming deserving. And then I'm going to write a book
Wow.
about this experience and just share it with every woman that
Yeah.
needs to stop suffering. And suffering is just when you're not getting what you want out of life, whether it's a relationship, your health, your finances, you're not getting what you want and it just pains you so much, but you don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
to figure out it's only because you don't believe you deserve it to have it.
Yeah. So what was the shift for you? That first of all, that is pretty awesome because I'm sure there's many listeners, especially women, who have a dialogue or a story that has been told to them that, look, keep quiet, good girls stay quiet, you don't
Yeah.
challenge,
Yeah.
just do good in school. Old fashioned would be marry, get a job, have
Yeah.
children, stay at home, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And
Yeah.
yet so much of that has broken beyond, and now we're succeeding and doing a lot more than for what we want. What was the pivoting moment when you asked God for that, or you just kind of channeled that in, that shifted for you, where the deserving started to come to you?
I wish I could say, and then I woke up the next day and I just had it. I just knew.
Miracles, yeah, you just
Yeah.
knew, and
I'm I'm gonna
happiness fell from the sky, right?
yeah. I'm gonna tell you the truth, which is I had to hold that, people say your come to Jesus moment. I had to have
Yeah.
a come to Tasha talk.
Mm.
And I at first I started to argue with God about this, like, no, of course I deserve a great relationship. Of course I believe I deserve a great relationship. And it was like, well, I'm not going to argue with you, Tasha. Look at the relationship you have and you
Yeah.
tell me what you think you deserve, right? So that was like a moment where it was like face to face with my truth. And I am wired where I understand when they talk about self actualization, I should be the poster child. Like, right? Like, I want to make sure when my ticket gets called, I am fully actualized.
Yeah.
So when I had that awareness as like a big thing that, you need to go on, I just committed, Michelle, and I was like, I am not going to date. I am going to work on Tasha and I am going to become whatever this deserving. I never even heard that word, deservingness. Is that even a word? It's like, I'm going to figure it all out. And I'm big on, it's one thing to Dr. Joe Dispenza says, knowledge is power, but self-knowledge is self-empowering. And that was my quest. I want to understand me and my lack of deservingness.
Yeah.
And when I understand what's causing me to do that, to think that, to be like that, I am going to commit to changing that story that I have been telling myself as long as it takes for me to get there. And it took me 2 solid years.
It's good that you did, and here you are.
Here I
So
am.
lots of success, lots of success. Tasha, what is on, I mean, written a book, you have an academy that is teaching amazing things. What is next for you?
I'm really excited that last year, in the middle of the year, on a whim, I created this thing called the Goddess Wealth Circle. And literally, it was this: hey, I want a group of women that I don't have to teach, that I can just hang out with. We can talk wealthy conversations, have wealthy friendships. We can truly live the wealthy life. We can travel together. We can do all these amazing things. And 10 women said yes immediately. It's like, okay. And so that was our first group. And this year, I'm really passionate about inviting 50 new women into that Goddess Wealth Circle. Because let me tell you, we're having wealthy conversations. We're really living the stuff that's in the book that says, oh, this is possible. Well, that's great. But, like, I kind of actually want it in my
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
And
that's
so
pretty
in this
amazing.
circle, that's what we're doing. We're just supporting each other to our highest expression of wealth, spiritually, emotionally, financially, in all ways.
That's amazing. And I wish you all the success with that as well. So, before we close it out, I have a couple of questions. Women in leadership, what are some of the initiatives you would like to see in women who empower others?
I think my greatest awareness in this moment is that women of color, especially, need to see other women of color in places that they can aspire towards and know that it's possible for them. Right. I feel like and so it's not just, oh, there are more women of color in leadership being successful, but that the women that are in those positions are also giving a hand to say, and let me show you how I got here.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing them along. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. I wish you all the best, and I want to thank you for being on the show today. You are truly inspiring. We'll make sure that we have it in the show notes, but where can someone get in touch with you if they want to be involved in your academy or to connect with you? What's the best way people can reach you?
So truthfully, as in the land that we live in today, tashachen.com, my website is easiest. And then the second best place would be Facebook. I'm a big
Okay.
Facebook girl. So Tasha Chen, if you do Tasha Chen Speaker on Facebook, you should find me pretty easily there too.
Okay, great. We'll make sure those are all in the show notes.
I'm so grateful to have had this conversation with you. Like I said when you asked, I'm a yes to sharing. Like Gandhi says, be what you want to see in the world. And so thank
Yeah.
you for giving me the opportunity to share, Michelle.
And thank you so much. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening. We'll be back soon with a brand new episode of the Heart Inspired podcast. Until then, I'm your host, Michelle Delgado. I welcome you to support the show by rating us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. To learn more about Hart Metrics Consulting, book a strategy call by visiting the website at heartmetrics.com.